everyone, welcome back to our live stream channel. And today we're going to produce our program in all English today. So, today I'm going to introduce our guests here. So the first one is Peter Yang.
No, sorry, Dennis.
Dennis Yang. So he was in our program before, and he was very supportive. And today he's also very supportive. So he's our guest today again.
Right.
And then this is my honorable guest here, Pastor Panel.
Thank you. It's a joy to be with you.
Thank you. And I have been knowing you for how long?
Well, since you've been attending the church, which is
I don't know what I forgot about that. Yeah.
over a year.
Yes, over a year. So here, these two guests, I can consider yourself as friends now because we met more than one times, right?
Yeah. Remember my first time with Mr. Pennell, and because I'm interested in education, so I'm thankful for the opportunity that I am invited to this show, this interview, and have a chance to talk with Mr. Pennell about the education, especially his 40 years Christian academics.
Yeah. So Pastor Pennell, he is also the founder of Heritage Christian Academy, which is a private school in Barrie. So this school has been last for over 40 years. Oh no, actually exactly 40 years.
Started in
because it started
1978.
78, yeah.
Right.
So could you tell me a bit about why you started the school?
Yes, my wife and I actually moved to Barrie in 1975 from Toronto, where I'd been pastoring at church. And one of the things that we wanted to do in starting a new church was to have a Christian school as a part of the ministry of the church. And so after the church had been going for 3 years, one of the parents asked me, when are we going to start the school you keep talking about? And I said, well, we'll get it going right away. And so we started in 1978 with our first classes, and I think we had 37 on that first year. And God has been so good, and people have been so supportive. It's a lot of work to have a Christian school because you have not only your Sunday services, but now you have Monday through Friday school as well, and all the planning that goes with that. So we've had just a great time. Now we have 114 students in the school, and it's growing, and that's exciting to see.
Yeah, so how many students at the beginning?
37, I think.
So right now it's about 3 times as large as the beginning.
Yes, that's right.
So 37, actually that's a very good number to start a school with. Yeah, because I know nowadays there are a lot of private school in Canada. Many places they have private schools, but the student over there, the first year, second year, probably only less than 10 students. Yeah, so 37 is, I consider it to be a very, very good start.
Well, in the early days, we didn't really have great facilities because this church was just starting. And the building we met in was on Little Avenue in Barrie. Actually, at that time, Little Avenue was a part of Innisfil Township.
Oh, wow.
And so
very expanded.
Yes. And so the building really wasn't suitable for the school. And the second year we met in an Anglican church building here in Barrie, and then we met for a couple of years in a school building in Innisfil Township that we bused the kids from Barrie down to that school building. But then in 1983, we built new facilities at our present address, which is 79 Ardell Road. We've got 5 acres there now, and so we have lots of room. So we were able to keep all the school together, and that's been the place. Now we have a nice playground and classrooms and so on, and it's working well for us there.
Yeah, and may I ask you, why the parents back then were suggesting you to have a school, and then you yourself, you would like to have a school as a part of the church ministry. And why not just join into a public system?
Well, you have to understand, philosophy of education is extremely important in a school. And my philosophy is that a school, Christian school, needs to have a biblical center, Christ-centered education. And the public school system is secular. And so I didn't want to have a school I didn't want to have our students go into a school that had a secular philosophy. Matter of fact, many schools don't even believe, or teachers in the school, that there is a God. And I wanted our children growing up with a consistent education, knowing that God created them and God created the world that we live in, and so that all the subjects that they would be taught along the way would be Christ-centered, biblically centered.
Yeah.
And that's really why we have a Christian school.
And so except for the biblical and the philosophy part, so what's the difference between a private school that you founded and the public system?
Well, that's the basic difference, is the philosophy. We also have smaller classrooms so that teachers have to teach fewer students. And I believe that that helps us to have more attention to the students in the classroom. Better education. We give our students a standardized achievement test every year, and those achievement tests show that the students in our school achieve at a higher level than the graduates or students in the public school system.
At the same level, right? So
Pardon?
they achieve something higher than the
Yes.
student at the same
Yes,
level.
yes.
Mm.
And I think that has to do with teachers being able to be more attentive to each student and their issues and their problems. And so it's worked well for us, and we look to have teachers in our schools primarily who are graduates of Christian colleges, so that they have the proper philosophy as well and understanding as well. And our graduates from our school, when they graduate from our school, they're able to go to any school they want, college or university. And all of our students who have graduated and gone on have done well in higher education, because they get a good grounding here, a good foundation.
Yeah, foundation is very important, especially a philosophical foundation. And so one question that a lot of parents, I mean, in the secular world, because they were very concerned about, so what university or college does their children would enter after graduation. And many of these parents, they were expecting somewhere like University of Toronto or some other more famous university in the States.
Yes, they could do that. We've had students go to colleges both in Canada and the US. Some have gone on to become doctors, business people, teachers, whatever they wanted to be. They could get their foundation here. So we are not shy about that. And once in a while, there's a school that's not real familiar with Christian education, so they're not sure when a student applies if they're prepared for their school. And so we just say, give them a test. And they give them a test and always get accepted.
Yeah, test tells everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and Peter, oh no.
Dennis,
do you have any questions?
yes, sure. So at the beginning, you said you have 37 students, and you hire those teachers from Christian college or universities. So for those 37 students, they are not from the Christian families, are they?
They were all from our families in our church in the beginning.
Okay.
Now, as years have gone on, we've expanded and accepted students from other churches. But in the first few years, they were all from our church, and so they already had an understanding. And the teachers coming from Christian colleges had an understanding as well of what we were expecting. The first few years, we actually used curriculum that was from Accelerated Christian Education. And Accelerated Christian Education has a thing where you work through workbooks, and we did that, and I felt that we could do better with the teacher taught rather than a book taught system. And so I think it was in our third year that we switched over to a traditional type school.
Right. So in the curriculum setup, do you put more efforts in the like the Bible teaching or in the academic teaching, or you focus on the
Well, it's all
the
mixed.
spiritual thing?
It's all mixed together.
Right.
So that like right now, many of the books that we use, study books that we use, are called Becca, Becca, yeah, out of Pensacola, Florida, which supplies curriculum for many Christian schools in Canada and the U.S. And it's a very high standard of a curriculum. And for others, for example, Canadian social studies and so on, we have to use Canadian literature for that because there's nothing available in the Christian realm. But we included in the class as well, the curriculum or the classes each day is Bible. And so students actually learn Bible while they're in school.
So how much time do they spend in learning the Bible a day?
It's just a regular class like science or math or whatever, so I don't know how to put it in hours. It's something that,
And they need to pass an exam about the Bible,
yeah,
do they?
yes, and they get credit for that.
All right.
Now, when they have credits transferred to a Canadian university, for example, they don't know what to do with that Bible credit. Because they don't have anything, any category that plugs into for them, so.
Right.
Sometimes they give a credit, sometimes they don't, but
Okay.
we try to follow as closely as we can the public school system of credits,
Okay.
so that our students aren't behind, they have enough science credits, English credits, so on. But we just they don't get the same classes, and there's a reason for that. We don't want our students to have their teaching from a secular perspective. And so in literature, in science, and so on, they get the Christian philosophy. Now, they learn, for example, what evolution is, but they're also taught why it isn't correct, why the biblical account of creation is the way that we all came about. So they know both systems, and they have to make up their mind which they're going to follow, but they're taught that the Bible is correct. The Bible is the greatest educational book in the world, and without a biblical education, a man is really not educated. And so, I mean, Ben Franklin years ago made that statement similar to that, and unfortunately, the public system has taken the Bible out. They've taken God out. They've eliminated all that, and as a result, they're missing out on a great deal of knowledge.
Okay. So I understand that you have put a lot of efforts in this academy school, and how is the outcome, right, from the last 40 years? There are so many students graduated and step out of the school, and they go into the society, they mix up with the students from other schools. And do you chase them to see whether they change or they have been the person you want them to be?
Follow up, you mean? We haven't really followed up on them. However, we know who most of those students are, and I can say that they have done well. Some people think you put them in a special school like this, that they're not going to adapt properly to society once they get out. But that's not true. Once a person is a well-rounded person with their proper education, they know how to handle situations. For example, in the financial world, my understanding is they train people at the bank how to identify counterfeit money.
Mm.
They train them by handling only real money, so that when a counterfeit bill comes into their hand, they know it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we look at for educating our students. We teach them truth so that they can identify error when it comes up.
Okay. Well, so could we have a little pause in our talk, because we need to figure out what we're going to eat tonight.
Oh,
Now.
all right.
Yeah.
A good idea.
Yeah, good idea. So, so Dennis, could you be our cook tonight?
Sure, I would like to.
Okay.
I guess we need to boil the water first before taking them out.
I
Right.
think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Bottom
So
water.
we
So we plus the start bottom and then
turn it on.
turn it on.
Let's
yeah.
wait for the water boil.
Noodles.
And then we
bowl.
from talking.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
There's a little bit noisy here.
I think it's fine.
It's fine. Okay.
I'm getting very familiar with it already. I cook with
Yeah.
this thing every day.
Sorry, I'm not a good cook. This is my second time to touch this amazing
Thing.
boiler.
Yeah. But anyway, let's back to our talk.
Sure.
So now we can move on to the part of a lot of parents are also very concerning about the price of a private school.
Well, different private schools have different prices.
Yeah.
Ours is probably one of the most reasonable around, and when people look at that, they think there must be something wrong with this school if it's cheaper than the others.
It's very
What-
cheap as long as I'm concerned.
What-
$200 a month.
What they need to understand is that our school is operated by our church.
Yeah.
The church has provided the facilities, the caretaking, the heat, the hydro, all of that. So those expenses are not there, where a school on its own would have to pay for all that. And the school doesn't have to worry about all those other building expenses, but the church pays for that, because our church feels it's an important ministry of the church. Education is
Yeah.
a part of what we do, not just on Sunday, but the rest of the week as well.
Yeah.
So that's why it's cheaper than other schools, and yet we provide, we believe, a very high quality education.
Yeah, price is just one thing. And Mr. Purnell mentioned that they adapt a very strict rule to the students. That
Yeah,
could be the hard
strict
part for the
rule.
parents. And that rule, from day one to now, is all the same. You never
Yes.
change them.
Yes.
That surprised me. Because now, during this 40 years, the world changed so dramatically. And you see the kids now is so easy to access to the medium, like what we were kids before. They can, all those videos, movies, Hollywood movies, music, they have all those violence, scandals, or even in the Christian community. And what do they think? And also now these LGBTQ is legalized. Don't you think that rule needs to change a bit to adapt to our real world?
Truth is truth. And Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And any man that cometh to the Father must come through me. And so we believe that we're teaching the children what truth is. And we're teaching them principles. And principles can be adapted. It's not just a rule, it's a principle. And so you can apply those principles no matter what culture you live in, no matter what country you're in. You can apply those principles. So we try to teach the students that. And so we teach them to be modest in their apparel, in their clothing. So the uniforms that they wear are a modest length. I know that the uniform people actually call the length of skirts that our girls wear modest. That's the term they use for it, modest cut.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
But do you change the length? year after year. Like, when they say modest, the 40 years ago, the modest, we define the modest may be different from the definition now.
No,
Am I
sir,
right?
we keep on saying,
It's exactly the same.
Like
But
below
you,
the knee.
yes.
oh, you define how the length in specific. Oh,
Yes.
okay, good. Wow, it surprised me.
Well, if you don't, students, they roll up their skirts and, they have problems in Berry schools right now
All right.
with modesty. And so, yes, we have a certain standard. And the boys' haircut is, have to keep it off their ear and off their collar. It's been that way for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Even though styles have changed, it's been that way. And
How about those electronic appliances? I guess you don't include them into the rule that you set up 40 years ago, and now it's everywhere.
electronics.
Electronic, yeah, those are this devices. Sorry.
Yeah. Cell phones are not used in school. They can use, we have computers, we have a computer lab in the school, so we obviously adapt for that sort of thing that we didn't have 40 years ago. But, there's some modern technology that we need
Right.
to change for.
And how about the contents? Something is prohibited not to review in school, and
Yes.
oh, okay. But those are not in the rule that you set up 40 years ago, I believe, right? Now,
Well,
how the teacher, how the teacher to transfer those information to the students. They cannot just say no, 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 but they have it. Nowadays, everyone has it.
Again, you have to set up principles that students follow, so that if you say, we're going to ask you to not bring things into the school that would be indecent in any way,
Mm.
they're improper, and their language also has to be, are we cooking here?
Yeah, still cooking.
The
I'm
language,
just checking.
language always also has to be proper, there's no swearing, no bad attitudes, and the problems that we deal with in our school are so minor compared to what they're dealing with in the public system. They would laugh at us because, we hold the line,
Hmm.
and we're producing outstanding students.
But what if the students don't agree with it? Or, it's hard to, you have now 114 students involved in 100 families. You cannot get it satisfied to all the families. What do they react to a new rule, and how do
We
handle
don't,
those?
we don't change the rules according to what families want. We have a rule, and the families adapt
Okay.
to our rules.
Oh. So you just go, right?
Yeah.
If you don't
And
accept
if they
it.
don't accept it, they're welcome to find another school if they want.
Oh, I see. Well, this is quite different from public one. So in the past 40 years, I believe your school is not the only one in this area.
Right.
So when you look at the other private school, especially those Christian private school, I believe some they open and close, and so compare with them. What do you think yours has done better to them, or do something superior to them?
Well, we're not in competition with any other school.
Right.
And,
But you have been standing there for 40 years.
yes, I think it's the fact that we have the same administration, that it's a school that's operated by the church.
Mhm.
And that's the big difference. Some schools are parent operated,
Oh.
and so they change according to what the parents want. And we just, have the church runs the school, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
You have the great funding from the church.
Yes.
Okay.
And the funding's basically from our weekly,
Tithes,
yeah,
yes, it comes out of that, and then we have a couple of fundraisers during the year. There's a golf-a-thon, for example, that raises, I think, about $25,000 a year. And Then the students also do candy bar sales.
Yeah.
I'm sure the parents love that, out there selling candy bars.
Right, right,
But that all helps with the expenses in the school.
right. So in the 40 years of operation, things has changed so much, as I said, and it's happy to see it growing and expanding. But during that 40 years, does anything trouble you and make you think of give up? I'm done. It's so frustrated. It's or you don't have financial problem. I can see. Right? There's good funding from the
Yeah.
church. Any like social pressure or parents in argument or all those things make you think of give up?
No, I never thought about giving up. And
Right.
part of the reason for that is that I know that this is what God wants us to do. And so we just keep going. And sure, everything has problems that you have to deal with when they come up. But you just try to deal with them biblically. And you just keep moving on, move through the problems and keep,
Not any hard time during that 40 years?
oh yes, in the early years of the church, as a matter of fact, when we were over there on Little Avenue, the neighbors didn't want a school in that neighborhood. We bought a building that used to be a catering business, and we converted that into the church and the school.
Right.
And the neighbors objected because now it wasn't just a Sunday activity, Monday through Friday activities as well, and they objected to that. And again, this was in Innisfil Township at the time, and so they ended up taking us to court.
Oh.
Really?
Yes, saying that we could not have a school on
Okay.
that property,
All right.
and we ended up winning the first time with a what they call temporary injunction, and the permanent injunction was the second hearing, and we lost that one because the church couldn't meet the setback requirements in the bylaw. It was too close to the neighbor's property,
Okay, I get it.
and so
That's
that's
from the original building, it's not.
yeah, but that was, see, we had to get a non-conforming use because it was a catering building before, it wasn't a church, it wasn't a school.
All right.
So that was a hard time
Okay.
to go through that. But we survived it and, as I said, moved on to rented another church building for a year until we got our own church built.
In 1980.
The winter of 82, 83, we built the building where we are, the first
Yeah.
building.
I
And then,
know the foundation rock.
yeah, and then we added over 10,000 square feet of gymnasium and classrooms, and then recently we just added a big auditorium, 600-seat auditorium, so we've got a lot of square feet there now.
Okay. So, when your school are so popular in the community, and do you think and see more and more parents want to send their kids to the school? Do you think it's because of the Bible education, or because you said it's better than the public school in terms of academics?
I think it's both.
Both.
It's both.
See,
you
from
know.
from what I can see, you draw the people to your school is because people think, oh, my kid can get more development academically in the school rather than the public.
Yeah, I think that's true that brought some people or brings some people in, but
So that's a contradiction, that's conflict.
I don't
they
think
they
there
may,
is a conflict there.
no, I mean some parents they focus on academics. They may not care so much about that's spiritual things. And then how to deal with those parents? They may just send it. Okay, it doesn't matter. They just learn the Bible. They don't care, and their goal is to
Actually-
send to have a good university.
That's
You see-
just some parents. As matter
yes.
as the fact, if you are a Christian parent, then you definitely want your kids to grow up in a Christian school.
Right,
Yeah.
but now they accept non-Christian families, right? Non-Christian background families, children.
But there's a body of people here, including in our own church, that want to have that Christian education as the primary thing. And yes, we're strict, but they like that fact that we're strict. We're not loose and just let anything go on. We discipline wrongdoing. We just don't let it go.
Mm.
So we've been very happy with the way things have gone.
Yeah, so actually I do not see your question is a problem there. As long as I know some parents, they're non-Christian, but they also send their kids to the school, but they do not complain or doing anything about it at all.
No, I'm not saying complain. But I'm just what they focus on when they send a kid to the Christian academics. They may focus more on science. I mean, of course they believe that God is in the science, but they may think most percentage of the science may not have something to do with that. That's my personal opinion.
So the secular world, their moral standard changed every time. However, in a Christian school, the moral standard is over there. It stays there and it doesn't change. And then they have their academic foundation over there. This just like the two legs of a person.
All right.
So you cannot have one leg crippled and have that person grow up healthily, like healthy, right? So you have to have two legs both healthy. And
well,
so
theoretically speaking, yes.
Let's put down our arguing a little bit. Let's cook our dumplings.
Not ready yet.
It is cooked. See?
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's boiling now.
All right. So the next step is take out the
I feel
dumpling.
the air is
right.
sort of stirring up a little bit. That's probably why we are having some argument here.
Hey, it's not an argument; it's a discussion, isn't it?
Okay.
So how to open that? It's just lift
Lift it up, yeah.
Oh, okay. I want to make sure I'm not spilled. So, thank you.
Yeah, and then.
And the screw, stir it a bit. Cool.
Okay.
So you're a chef and you didn't even know.
I'm a poor chef.
And restart the program.
Yeah, I was told that it's better to turn it
Restart
off,
turn off, and turn on.
back on, and test.
There.
To cook another 15 minutes?
No, it won't.
Alright.
It's just starting to test the temperature again. And then it will set the time according to what it feels.
So, alright, you have to forgive me and my Chinese background affect my mindset. Right? So I have a lot of questions about the education here, especially the Christian school. We are raising the children the way to trying to have them to be the person we want to. Right? You want them to worship God as you do, and I want them to be a useful guy in a society and be successful in certain terms as we expect. But usually you cannot get the outcome as what you think, from what I can see. I guess it happened the same in the Christian school. When you see that, will you feel frustrated? How do you change that? Like, adjust your education methods to make that change.
Well, we don't find that we need to adjust anything. If somebody...
Well, the principle is always there, but how you, the way you teach the students, that can be changed, right?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, teaching methods are flexible, but here again, we have a standard, and the Bible is the standard.
Right.
And you may not be familiar with the Bible, but if you become familiar with the Bible, you'll see that it's an amazing book. And in the beginning of wisdom is the Word of God. And if you really want to know what's going on in life, you need to know the Bible. And so if we have a problem with a student in the school, we try to find out where they're out of place with the Word of God. What's going on in their life that is not in agreement with the Word of God. And that might need a little bit of adjustment. For example, maybe they are morally messing around with some things that they shouldn't. And that gets them off track. And so you try to find that out and get it straightened out in their life, and on they go. All three of my sons graduated from this school. They all went on to college. My oldest son is the executive vice president of a business here in Canada. It's a financial services business. My second son is the principal and pastor of the school there now. And my third son is one of the business managers at a car dealership here in Barrie. And so they all have been extremely successful.
They are.
And they have gone through the school, graduated from it, got a good start here, and moved on. And they're all still in our church, and we all live here in the area. I'm married, I have grandchildren. All of my grandchildren attend a Christian school.
And do they credit their success to the Christian school they have?
Yes, that's has a great deal to do with it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So you've got some cooking going on here. And this will turn out a certain way according to what you put into it. You put the right ingredients in and you get a good product out. The same thing is true with education.
Oh, well, that's debatable. I'm sorry, I won't agree with it at this point. Human being is such a complicated system. It's not like cooking, not like a computer. You enter the data and you expect it turn out something you expect. But like I'm a father of two sons, right? They are raising in from the same family. I talk to them in the same way. I would say I bring them to the same sports events. They have graduated from the same school. But turn out they're totally different, completely different. Not that I won't say they are not the person I want to, but they're not the same. Even though I input the same thing to them, but the outcome is not the same.
Yes.
It's not like garbage in, garbage out. You know it.
Oh, no.
Your children are not machines.
No.
But we're saying that if you put the right things into them, they got a better chance of turning out right.
Well, it's debatable. Yeah, you put this good thing in, could turn out it's bad. They act silly way or the way you don't want to. I don't know. I'm always frustrated as a father.
Yeah. You need to consider with humans' free will. They have their own decisions to choose.
Right.
But as parents and as educators, we should provide the choices. We should provide the path in front of them to let them have a chance to choose.
Of course. I mean, how to adjust your attitude, how to, what kind of good methods to do that. Right? We all have our philosophies, we have our principles, we have our rules, but the kids are always, they are keep resistant to those. See, when I try to teach my kid to say, "Hey, Dad, stop lecturing, don't do that," then how can I teach them? Same as in Christian Academy, kids may not know the Bible, what Bibles mean. They don't realize that God is the creator, and you have to how you teach them and day after day, and from kindergarten to grade 12, and so that they can keep following it. That's.
I would challenge you to come and see sometime what we're doing there. See what the product is. And I think you'll be surprised, pleasantly surprised at what's happening. And see, these kids are getting consistency. They're
Wow.
getting consistency at home, in the school, in their church. And when you give that kind of consistency, you end up with a good product.
Wow, that's impressive. So, in a class, there are 10 to 20 students. They are all the same? They believe the
They're
same
not
thing?
robots.
Yeah, all right, yeah, not. But they believe the same thing? They act generally well?
Yes.
Well, okay. I don't know why the public school, they cannot do it like this way. I think it's so different. And it always confused me how the teacher to handle the class with 20 students in different levels, I mean, academically or mentally, how to handle that. Basically, what I can see is they have to take care of the one at the end of the list. And that is not fair with those pretty advanced, right, in the list. So if you said in your school they are all well, generally they're the same, that would be much easier.
Well, they're not all the same.
Okay. Then how to handle that?
Well, that's up to the individual
One
teacher, how they deal with it, but we also have a full-time teacher's helper in the school, so that during certain times of the day, she is able to take students that maybe need some help, for
Mhm.
example, in math, and work with them in those areas, and another one that needs some work in science or English, and work with them in those areas. So she's her full-time job is to work with students that need help.
But the full time is just in school. And after school, do they have homework? Bring back home to spend certain hours doing? They have.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Some homework were quite interesting. Hand-on homework. So, for example, making a pizza. Yeah, I heard some of this.
yes.
Oh, it says okay here. So just turn it off.
Yeah, turn off.
And
Does it?
scoop them out.
Time to stir it, I think.
Scoop them out, I think, because they are
Okay.
all floating.
Well, it smells good.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm
Wow.
doing it well.
Yes, you're gonna get a good mark in this class.
I don't want to stop this conversation because I'm learning so many things.
Well, you just keep on.
I like to keep on, but
I don't want to
our
distract you
program-
with
but-
these.
I know, but our program actually has a time length,
Oh, okay.
and we are already actually 15 minutes
15
more
minutes.
longer than our
Oh, gee.
than our normal.
I don't feel that.
I don't do that.
Well, the
Too.
time has gone quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very educated, Mr. Pennell. I learned a lot, and from your inspiring experience.
Well, good.
Oh. Just can you,
Where to put it?
I don't want to put on this thing. I don't want to put on the other one. Oh, on the table. Well, anyway, time is passing very fast, and I have to say goodbye to everyone on the live stream channel. And well, if you have any suggestion, please give us some notes, and maybe you can thumb up and maybe subscribe our channel. So tomorrow at the same time, we'll see you again. Bye bye.
Bye.
应该没有。